Díodh Accordia. Hi everyone. Irish neutrality has been under relentless attack in the past few years by the political and media establishment here in Ireland. They've offered up nearly €400 million in military aid towards Ukraine. They claim it's non-lethal aid, but of course they've taken a side in this war, in NATO's proxy war in Ukraine, supporting a corrupt regime in Kiev. Now, what's really fascinating is the latest iteration of this has been to offer up 34 army vehicles, including 16 Ford Rangers, vans and ambulances, along with 3 bomb disposal robots under the so-called named Operation Carousel Number 3. This is where the transport unit of the Irish Defence Forces went on a 4,500 mile round trip right across Europe to drop off these vehicles and the bomb disposal robots to a city called Rzeszów, which is in the southeastern region of Poland, not far from the Ukrainian border. This is a centre for donations from countries who want to offer up arms and weapons and military equipment towards Ukraine. And of course, the Irish government has said this is non-lethal aid, but this is what you would expect from the Irish political establishment. And really, this is under the premise of the European Partnership for Peace. You really couldn't make this up. Back in 2021, Joseph Borrell, the High Commissioner for Foreign Affairs in Europe, he kicked off this Partnership for Peace, which opened up the door to be raided for militarism in terms of weapons of war. Now, of course, this is off budget and off balance sheet, so of course they can work on these mechanisms themselves and tear up the fiscal rule book whenever they want to do it. They've done the same with von der Leyen's plan, for instance, with the Rearming Europe plan. And this arms and weapons are being sent through the clearing house cell through the European Union military staff, which is based, unsurprisingly, in Brussels. Now, of course, back in the Maastricht Treaty of 1993, this set in train the whole motion towards a common security and defence policy. And as I said, nearly €400 million has been spent in so-called non-lethal military aid sent across Ukraine from Ireland. But of course, where was the Defence Forces to help the people of Ireland? Look at the storms we had recently in Ireland, and I'm sure we're coming into more of a storm season in Ireland as well. And where were the people supported in their communities that were left without power, left without transport, left without many, many serious issues in Ireland? But of course, the military weren't tasked with supporting the people of Ireland. They're more interested in going on this 4,500 mile trip to serve the interests of those elites in Brussels. And of course, Ireland has also been involved with the Ukraine Defence Contact Group. Surprise, surprise. And of course, back in 2024 in September, they signed up an agreement for support for Ukraine. And they've done a lot of this stuff bilaterally. So they haven't done it through the Partnership for Peace. They've signed up to this agreement themselves. And of course, Martin himself has said that Ireland has signed up to the Coalition of the Willing. When were the people of Ireland even asked about this Coalition of the Willing? And this is at the same time we see €5.3 million is being spent on accommodation for Ukrainians and the international protection system in Ireland while children are waiting on surgery. It's absolutely just outrageous the amount of money that's being wasted on this racketing industry rather than representing the people of the country that they claim they represent. But of course we know they don't represent the people of Ireland. They represent those elites in Brussels and many warmongers and those oligarchs. And of course, as I said, they want to erode the triple lock. We know about the previous declaration in Seville, which led to the second vote on the Nice Treaty in terms of trying to copper fasten the triple lock. But the Irish government, of course, want to get rid of that now. And they want to say it's down to reclaiming our sovereignty, which is just complete nonsense, because all they want to do is send boots on the ground towards Ukraine. Is any young person willing to go and fight and die in Ukraine? I doubt it. So that's why there's well over 100,000 Ukrainians here and a lot of men here, because many have been forced into conscription, pulled off the streets and sent to the front lines to die in the name of a US stroke NATO stroke EU proxy war in Ukraine to serve their agenda. We all know what their agenda is fundamentally all about. It's all about pushing their neoliberalism, pushing all the globalist agenda, and also about those resources, the much vaunted resources right across Russia as well. But of course, they won't mention this. It's about their values, the single market, freedom, all this type of nonsense. And that's not just the government pushing this, it's much of the opposition also. And many of them have been completely silent in Ireland to what's really taken place. If you look at our Irish Constitution, Article 29.1, 2 and 3 refer to the devotion of the ideal of peace for Ireland and friendly cooperation between nations. And also, point 3 would claim the pacific settlements of international disputes. That's what Ireland should be standing up for. Give people the demand for peace and stand up for the interests of peace, stand up for the interests of our sovereignty. And this is a critically important point in the context of the previous Crotty judgment in the Single European Act back in 87, where it went against our sovereignty, given executive powers to pass through European treaties without first going to the people. It should be sent to the people in terms of signing up for any of these military pacts or military alliances. And of course, as a neutral country, we must not be assisting any party to any armed conflict. And this is under international law as well. So if you look at it, Ireland is just being dragged along, kicking and screaming. Our neutrality is being eroded. And these people are just sending money hand over fist towards a foreign war that we should have no hand, act or part in. As a former colonised country for over 800 years, and still colonised as well, and still a separated country with the occupied 6 counties. When was the time that the Irish government stood up for the interests of the people and stood up for the interests of people, even up in the occupied 6 counties? They ignored them for years. But at the same time, they're willing to travel across in these junkets for 4,500 miles to offer up military vehicles towards Ukraine. It's absolutely outlandish. This is absolutely just preposterous, but people are waking up to what's taking place in this nonsense war that we should have no hand, act or part in. We should be standing up for peace, stand up for our sovereignty, our independence and our Irish neutrality. And this goes back to the spirit of Wolfe Tone, who spoke of our Irish independence and neutrality in the 1790s. That's the formulation of the United Irishmen, standing up for Irish democracy also as well. This is what's vitally important now more than ever, and not to relive the mistakes of the past and listen to the nonsense and propaganda that they ram down people's throats. Thanks so much for supporting my videos. Please subscribe, and thanks for everybody who continues to share my videos far and wide. It's very important to share them, comment, and also thanks to everybody who supports me through buying me a coffee. I'm very, very grateful for all your very kind and generous support. So from Dublin, slán go fóill, and take care. See you soon.